What is intersubjectivity? Intersubjectivity is when two speakers share understanding about a concept, tool, or activity. Ramdevit, a psychologist, argues that intersubjectivity is really a mirage. It is an illusion that we move toward, but it is impossible to ever achieve. Well, why is true intersubjectivity impossible? Well, one reason, in order to understand that, let's review what we know about social cultural learning theory. So quickly, we'll do this because you guys are becoming experts in this area. Well, one thing we know is that we are all meaning makers. We make meaning out of things. We look at things and we need to understand it and make sense out of it. We know that thinking starts in our social cultural experiences in the external world and moves inward into our inner speech. We know that experiences and tools and language can mediate our thinking. So remember the Himba people, they have a different way of looking at the colors than we do. So our thinking is mediated by our language and our tools and our experiences. And because of that, our thinking is unique because we make meaning of all of these experiences in unique ways. So there's no two people that can take all of these tools and make them into the same thing. I think somebody in class on Monday made that same idea regarding the Tinker Toys, that even if we were given the same Tinker Toys, the same items, and asked to make something out of it, we would make it in very unique ways because of our makeup, because of our experiences. And so any Marilyn Manson fans out there? Anyways, so he's one. As a result, our thinking is like our own private universe. You know, we have infinite number of ways in which we can think about things and make connections of things, and it's our own private universe. And everybody was walking around basically with their own private universe. Many different ways in which they can make sense of the information, the environment, the experiences, and the tools that they have in their environment, which is pretty amazing, I think. It's quite astonishing. So here's some examples of this that may help you make sense of it. The first example is if I were to ask you to think of a dog, I may think of a golden retriever, but somebody else may think of this frightening thing. Everybody has a different experience when it comes to, you know, what that ideal dog is. If you're someone that is favorable to dogs, the golden retriever or something like it will be what you conjure up. But if you're fearful of dogs, then this frightening thing down here might be something that you would look at or think of. So if I asked you to think about a dancer or dance, some of us may think of it in terms of actually being a dancer. Somebody may think of it in terms of being a choreographer. Somebody may be thinking about it and just being, you know, in the audience, just watching. And maybe somebody else is maybe thinking about it in terms of the mom of Misty Copeland, who drives her to all her lessons, shows, and doctor's appointments and rehearsals and more. Each of these people, when they think of dance or dancing or a dancer, will have a very different perspective because of their position in the social world, because of their experiences, because of the tools. So there's going to be different ways in which we view things. So does intersubjectivity matter? Or rather, does the lack of intersubjectivity matter? Really, there are 2 points that I want to raise with this that I want you to keep in mind as you plan your lessons. So here we are back to this young lady. I want to show you a video of a small group math activity. It's done by 4th graders. I sadly don't have a high school example, but this one shows how a lack of intersubjectivity can be harmful. The math problem is this. So there's going to be a balance beam, and the teacher says that there are 4 tiles on the 8 on this side, so there would be 4 tiles here. And I'm going to try to draw this in real fast. 4 tiles here. 3, 4. And on this side, there's a tile on the 2. And she asked the students, how many tiles must you add to make the beam balance? Add on this side so that it balances, because right now it's too heavy on this side. What she wants, the teacher wants them to kind of like create little math sentences like this. 4 times 8, because there are 4 tiles on the 8 equals 32. So if there are 1 tile on the 2, that's 2, plus you can add 4 tiles on the 5, so that would be 20. I think that would be 22, and add another add another a tile on the 8, actually, and another tile on the 2, and then you get 32. So my math is wrong here. But the idea is that they need to add tiles onto this to make it work. The teacher wants the teacher puts the students into small groups, and within each group, each student is supposed to generate a solution. Once they have generated a solution, then each group member shares their answer, or shares their solution. After sharing their answers, the teacher tells them to rank order their answers into which one of the answers is the best solution, and which one is the second best solution, and so on. The teacher makes a point to tell the class that they should be talking to each other. In fact, they should be debating and defending with each other. So the idea, of course, from a social cultural learning theory is that students should be learning from each other. If I don't understand the answer, I'm going to hear it from my group mate who may have the answer. And especially if she configures the groups so that there is a couple of high ability students and maybe some low ability students in the class. So that's the idea of it. But what we're going to find out with the first point of intersubjectivity is that the language that the group uses can either help or hinder students' learning. So intersubjectivity is about the language we use to communicate. Specifically, it is about the words we use to effectively communicate meaning. In this example about the balance beam, in this 4th grade example, you're going to see whether or not students are going to hear good explanations or not good explanations. So here, let me play it.
But one of the ones that would possibly work is 3 on 10, because 4 on 8 is the same as 32, like 32 on one side, and since we only have 2 on the other side, we need to make it equal. And so 3 on 10 would equal 30, so we'd have 32 on both sides. I did a short one. Have you decided? I decided this because 4 times 8 is 32, and 1 times 2 equals 2, plus 6 plus 5, 6 times 5 equals 30, and 30 plus 2 equals 32.
All right. So what you hear is that Molly and Drexel explain their answers. But Molly in particular is using her inner speech. And let's look at what she actually says. One that could possibly work is 3 on 10 because 4 on 8 is the same as 32. And since we only have 2 on the other side, we need to make it equal. So 3 on 10 would equal 30. And so we would have 32 on both sides. So if that is kind of confusing to you, then that's fine because it is confusing. What Molly is doing is using her inner speech. She's cutting out the more valuable words that would help someone who doesn't understand learn how to do this problem. Notice Drexel, on the other hand, uses this to explain. I did a short one. I decided this because 4 times 8 is 32, and 1 times 2 equals 2, and 6 times 5 equals 30, and 30 plus 2 equals 32. While he says it really fast, he does use the what we call academic language. So there's a greater opportunity for intersubjectivity to be made with Drexel's explanation, but there's a lack of intersubjectivity with Molly's, especially from for a student who doesn't understand how to do this problem. Molly isn't going to help them do it because there's a lack of intersubjectivity. What the heck is she saying? She's not using that academic language. So I'm going to end the screencast here. We'll pick up and look at this some more. What?